In Europe, I'm not useful. I'm doing a hotel, but everybody can do it, and it exists everywhere. Everything is very difficult. The most important thing is to create stability. When people are stable, they can think further. I'm not a religion person or something that I'm looking to nature. What is your aim of your life? What would you like to keep that stays for the future? Huh?
Hi, welcome to a new episode of the Food Forest podcast. Today we have a real hero among us, Jurgen Heytens. He's a Belgian guy, moved from Ghent, worked in a restaurant and said, we need to save Congo. We first colonized this as Belgians and now he went there to create Faja Lobby, a fantastical project where he reforests, where he empowers locals, and where he creates a better future. Jurgen, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, Louis. I'm fine. I'm here in Congo. Yes.
So, is it true you first worked in the restaurant business before you went to Congo?
Yes, well, actually, I'm an urbanist. I'm landscape designer and urbanist. But I was working for a few years. I started my own restaurant, hotel restaurant. So I was working there, and that was for me a bit something beside, because my interest was landscapes, was urbanism. So after a few years, I had the idea what I'm doing. I would like to create my dream, and that's more with trees. And so I wanted to plant trees, and I came to Congo with my godfather of two Belgian Congolese children, and we went to see their grandparents. And so I came in Congo and I saw all those space here, and I thought it's here that I have to go to plant trees again.
You just felt it when you were there. You had this aha moment, this click, this spark, and said, Jurgen, I'm calling you, stay here.
Yeah, maybe actually before I had already a dream to plant trees a day, but I thought it would be in Belgium or in France. But when I came here, then I really was convinced immediately. Here it is, because there is so many space, so many people are looking for jobs, for work. I can do much more here than I ever could in Europe. And all numbers also tell it. If you plant trees here in Congo, you have 3 times more carbon that you stock than you do in Europe, because you have all year around that the trees are growing. You have dry season, but they even have leaves. When I came here, I saw a lot of deforestation, so that impacted the whole community even, because after they chopped everything, there's nothing anymore. It's grassland. And I came here in a region at the tampon zone, they say, near 100 kilometers of the rainforest, with gallery forests into the savanna. With a dense population, the province of Kwilu is one of the most dense populations in Congo. And I saw the degradation, and I thought, okay, here I can add something. I can be useful. In Europe, I'm not useful. I'm doing a restoration, restaurant, a hotel, but everybody can do it, and it exists everywhere. But here, there is a lot of need of planting trees. So I came over here.
It's so true to always look for a place, well, where can I make the most impact? Where is the biggest lever that I can do? And it's fantastic you found that. Just a question for you, Jurgen. There are more people who are doing a job, who are stuck somewhere and who have a dream to do something. There is a very big jump to go from having that dream, even going to a place and seeing, well, here is where I need to be. But then also just actually doing it. Because you're like giving up an old life and starting a new, it's a huge jump to the dark for a lot of people, or they think it's a jump in the dark. How did you do that? How did you make that transition? Was it overnight or did it take a long time?
Yeah, it's not easy indeed. So I had my job, I had my income in Belgium. If I could come to Congo, how would I live? How could I find funds to do what I want to do? I started in 2012, first the project. I went came the first time in 2011 to see, and then in 2012 we started the project. But I was still working in Belgium, so I came here for 3 months. I was 9 months in Belgium. I was doing my job, and then it went till 6 months Belgium, 6 months Africa, and that made it more and more that I was convinced that I had to be here, because the months that I was in Belgium, I had too many worries about what is happening here, and when I was here, I had too many worries about Belgium. And then I decided in 2019, okay, I tried to do it, because when I put my house in rent, I can live from that. So I'm sure I can already live here. I have $1,000 a month, so okay, that's doable here to live. But how will we find a budget? Because when I worked in Belgium with our company, we had also a budget every year to invest in the project that we gave to the project. And I had some people who gave funds and who helped us. But when I'm not in Europe anymore, will it go on? But what I found out is by being here, I found more funds, because people were more convinced what we are doing. And I could also find fundings from larger institutes like WRI, the World Resource Institute. So it was counting up. It was good. And the first thing is I started to live here totally in 2019. And just the moment when normally I should go back for 6 months to Europe, there was the crisis of
19, the pandemic.
COVID. And then, yeah, I had no risk to go back, because the restaurant was closed. So
yeah.
I was used to here again.
What a timing.
Passed, and it was done. I was here finally, totally. And I didn't think anymore. So now I'm living really here. I'm not living in Belgium and Ghent anymore. I really live here, and it's going well. It's always up and down. You don't know each year if you will find funds, because now with Trump, WRI has fundings from MasterCard, and MasterCard stopped because of Trump. They have no incentive anymore to invest in climate change, so they stop it. So we have to find other fundings, and we are looking, and we are inscribed with the United Nations and the World Bank and the big institutes now, because we could grow. We growed in 2019 from $300,000 a year. When you look to 2024, we were at $4.2 million that we could invest. So it's a huge amount. So it's also a reason that I have to be here. And still, I don't take budget from that budget for the reforestation. I still live from my money from my house rent, but project was growing. So yeah.
Yeah, well, beautiful to have it grown in that way. You did it little by little, first 3 months, then 6 months, and then little by little a year. Do you think that's a good approach for other people who want to start a crazy dream, to do it like gradually, or would you say no, just jump right into it?
Yes, no, you have to do it gradually, because you need to take some checks and balances. What are you doing? Is it going on? Because at once leaving everything, you can lose everything. I made that. So, for instance, the company that I started in Belgium still exists. There is Christophe who is now doing everything over there. But there's a link. So the organization here is half of the owner of the company over there for the moment. So there is also an interest for the organization, and also a vitrine. How do you say, a window that in Europe of what we are doing here. Yeah.
So there's still a connection.
Yes.
You went into a country that is totally new. It's not like going from Belgium to Spain. It's going from Belgium to Congo. That's a culture that's much more far away. How were you? How was your integration? You went there. You as a foreigner, as also an ex-colonist, as you might be perceived. Probably you went to there. I heard that it was not super easy, that your house was burned, that you were also in prison for 3 days. How was that adventure for you? And should
Yeah,
that scare people away or not?
I was thinking, okay, I'm from the country of the colonialists who came here, so people will look will be very angry to me, but that was not at all. People were very open to receive you. They were happy that you come, that you bring in, because a lot of people here has an idea of the colonial time. Then there was structure, then there was infrastructure. So people had a better life than now because people are living in a chaotic situation. The government is not helping the population for jobs, for schooling, for everything, for roads. Everything is very difficult now. They were interested in also Europeans are coming here. To invest and to help and to look how we can organize it better. So I was not seen like that, as the bad guy that was coming in. I learned, and also I lived on a level like them in the first thing, and they didn't understood because they say you come from a country, you have all your comfort, and you go to live in a hut. Why don't you have electricity? Why don't you have a house, etc., etc.? So, but bit by bit, I wanted to learn about how people live in poverty, what is their daily life. Then you really understand when you miss something, how it feels and how you can react on it. So, and bit by bit, I installed. It's not my aim to live in poverty. So now I also have a house with electricity, solar panels, water in the. So I have everything now. That's not the problem. But first, I started gradually to live their life, because first I was not all year round here, so I had no need for it to. It was like a vacation, you can say, in the beginning. So, and I also learned the local language, Kikongo. What is important, because a lot of people didn't went to school to learn French, because French is also the second language for the population. It's Kikongo here, the first language in this region. So I learned it, so I can also speak with the people in the villages. When we have meetings, we do it in French and in Kikongo, we mix it up. Yeah, I feel very, very well. So when my first hut burned, it was not that people came to burn my hut. It was because of an accident of the person who was cooking there, and the hut fire. Yeah. But it's not an easy country, actually. It's very difficult because people live in poverty. You have a lot of jealousy. People don't understand always why you are doing things, because we think, okay, from Europe, you come over here, you will plant trees. But people say, people need food and you are planting trees. What the hell are you doing? Trees, they grow from themselves. They also thought, it's just an idea. They come to plant trees. He comes to plant trees, but actually he's looking for diamonds or gold. To be something here. But I actually was looking for an area closer to the rainforest and where there is a lot of rainfall, so that we can restore forests from 40 meter high or more. And also, I had to explain a lot. We had to speak a lot, but more and more, then you are part of the community. You are part of what is happening here. Then it's working, and more now. Like we planted already 9,200 hectare forests now, local forests, and we asked for carbon credits by now. The carbon credits will all be reinvested in the community, in the economy of the community, so that we can keep people out of forests, to chop forests, and give them a better future, because that's where it's all around about. We can have the idea we will plant trees, but actually for the population, it's to have an income, to have an economy. That's the most important thing now.
Yeah, and you say it's planting trees, and they thought, well, are you just going to plant trees? We also need to have food, but you're also growing food in the forest, right?
Yes, of course. That was one of the first things I learned. The most important thing is to create stability. When people are stable, they can think further. They can also understand the importance of trees. And that's what we were doing by giving jobs to plant trees. The first thing I saw, you create stability. And then I thought, okay, if we want to plant trees, we need that they don't chop them again. So we need to create agriculture beside it, looking for the quality of soil, make the quality of soil better, planting crops that also grow in the forest, and also make agroforestry. So, and that's what our project is half planting trees, half creating agriculture economies based on restoration of soil, of forests and the landscape, actually.
Most things that are happening right now is that people, they cut down existing forests, then they have a lot of fertile ground to do agriculture on, but that is degrading that land and it's turning it into a savanna. You are doing the opposite.
Yes. So we are in a area with gallery forests. So
What does that mean?
You have the main rainforest that is one block, and then you have rivers that are going to the rainforest, and around those rivers and small valleys, you have forests around the water side, and that they call it gallery forests. And around that you have villages. So you have partly a mosaic of savanna and forests here, and they are chopping all the forest.
Would it be correct to say that where you are is the Amazon of Africa?
Yeah, it's near the rainforest of Africa. So for the moment, for the climate change, the forest here is already smaller than in Brazil, but it's more important than Brazil because there is a lot of stock of rotten forests under the soil, and there is a lot of water here. So it's a basin, the Congo basin, and there it stocks a lot of carbon because it is not going back in the air. When you are in the drier zone where we are planting on the savanna, actually, you have continuously food that is rotting, and that's so it comes in the air again. The carbon is reused, but if you have a forest, you reuse the carbon actually in your forest, so it's also good stock. That's what the Wannes Chabot, for instance, from the Ghent University, is one of the researchers who found out that for the moment in Brazil they stock less carbon than here in Congo, and that's why the European community now want to invest more and more to protect that forest. Also, if this forest would go away totally, it would dry out, then it would give a lot of carbon in the air. Also, it would be a desert from the Sahel till the Kalahari. It would be one desert. So it's very important that we keep that forest alive and that we keep that biodiversity also, of course, because it's so rich. But we are on the edge. And on the edge, we try to restore what people chopped already, to keep also the biodiversity of types of trees. And in the meantime, we try to keep people out of the forest where they chopped to do agriculture. So now what we are doing, we are using the savanna, and in the savanna we plant trees. And so the first year we do it, so you have an intercrop practice. So you plug the terrain, you plant the trees, and in the meantime you plant agriculture crops. And so the first year we have a double up. The population has a lot of agriculture, much more than they had before in the small parts they did agriculture in the forest. But they don't chop forests anymore. So we keep them out of the forest. And then the aim is to keep them out of the forest, to continue with the tractors we have to do every year in the villages a certain number of hectares. And then every year we add forests. But those forests are to stay, local restoration of forests. But then beside of that, now we also would like to start, or we are starting now, with cooperative system that we will plant a biomass plantation of 10,000 hectares of trees that will be chopped every 7 years. And there we will use fast-growing trees. But in between, we do also the intercrop agroforestry. So
there's the charcoal reserve that you're having. So don't chop down like real forest for the charcoal. You use grounds that are barren anyway, so that's already a win to plant trees for 7 years, and then you cut those trees down to make charcoal for the villagers.
Exactly, because for the cities, for the bigger cities, because the villages some dry wood they find to cook on. But everybody cooks on charcoal here because there is no electricity in the big cities, or not enough. There is no gas, etc. So they use to cook on charcoal like we do on a barbecue. So there is a huge demand of wood. So that's one of two reasons of deforestation. So the first one is agriculture, chop forest for that. And the second one is to produce charcoal. So we need to find a solution for that. And that's why we want to create a factory to produce charcoal, because now they produce charcoal manual with local.
It's not as efficient, probably.
Not efficient. It's 90% loss of the wood. Actually, wow. It gives a lot of pollution, and we can do it very economically, ecologically, because we want to make a factory that reuse the warmth, that also use. We make one oven with the branches of small branches of trees to make fire, and then we bring it into the other ovens where the charcoal is produced, like we bake, like you are baking bread. You don't use oxygen anymore to make charcoal. So you reduce it by 90% of 95% of oxygen that you reduce in the use.
What a win!
Yes, it's a lot of win. And then the second win is you don't need to chop forests anymore, because we have planted trees. So we reduce also the impact on the forests, and we create a lot of jobs. So also other people who don't have to chop in the forest anymore. And on the same time, we do agriculture, where we do the plantations for the charcoal production. So it's double up. It's 5 times double up what you are doing. So that's what we like to do, and we are here at the edge of the natural reserve of the hippopotam, the Mangai. So and we would like to produce 25% of the need of charcoal for Kikwit, a city of 850,000 people for the moment. That would be a good solution to not chop anymore and to create economy on the same time, but we do it all in the savannah and not in the place where the forests are.
Yeah, you've probably hired hundreds of local workers to run a project where 70+% of the funding goes to salaries. What does that mean to the average person in Idiofa, the place where you're at in Congo? How does it change the narrative of aid, the development?
Well, you have to say the city of Idiofa is about 150 to 250,000 people now. The impact is we had in December, we gave jobs for 3,200 to 3,400 people.
So you're responsible for 3,200 people?
Yes. Is stopping their funding because of the Trump says it's not interesting to invest in climate change mitigation. So mitigation. Sorry. So what we are looking for other funds, but like we are now already on a level.
Do you think one day you or like, let's say that all funding dries up to 0% with the local economy and the benefits it is creating right now for the people? Do you think you could self-sustain what you're doing right now?
That's the aim. We don't want to be the hooker of subventions, but that takes time. It's not immediately that you have that. We have now the possibility, because we planted 9,200 hectares of restoration forest. What people say, but you plant trees, but that gives not an income afterwards. But it was all by donorships and subventions that we could do it. And now we asked for carbon credits. So now we will have for 40 years, every 3 years, an income on those forests that we will sell certification of carbon credits to Europe and America. And with that income, we will invest again in the local communities for their economy. So we will not plant new forests, but we will create their economy so that people keep jobs. So that's one of the first local incomes, you can say, that we have now, auto finance. And then the second thing with the charcoal production that we want to do over a few years, but that demands first an investment. It's a whole project. And then we would like to create all those cooperative with fields with manioc and maize and the wood production. That production will create that it will be
self-sustaining.
Self-sustainable, yes.
Yeah.
So the aim is on the long term that we become totally self-sustainable, that we produce in this area food production and charcoal to sell outside the area. And that's why we do a lot of things now already, because we know it's dangerous when we just have to go down at once with 70% of subventions. It's crazy. So it's not easy. But we try to create already a lot of jobs, like we do fish ponds. We give trainings to people to make fish ponds. We give them the young fishes of the good quality so that they start up. We have a project of vegetables. We try out new types of agriculture in the forest, so agroforestry. Like we planted already 350 hectares of coffee out, so that will be for 350 people jobs. We planted 200 hectares cacao, so again 200 people who has a job. Now we do also innovative projects where we work together with universities like the University of Kikwit, University of Ghent also.
One question about the people per hectare. So 200 hectare of coffee, it's 200 people. Do you then give like one person 1 hectare to manage, or how does that work?
Yes. So the thing is, the problem is for the population. So we would like to create cooperative systems where people work together. But on the first hand, it's difficult for the people to invest for 3-4 years to have a cash crop. Coffee, cacao is a cash crop, but it takes 4 years before you have an income. So we are organizing that first. We are planting, we are learning up the people, and then the own workers who started it can become then autonomous farmer for 1 hectare, for instance. So
right.
They have to maintain, they have the income after 3 years. After it starts to give income, then they can go autonomously. But then we can work together on a cooperative system that we sell it together.
Better negotiations.
Yes, for instance, the coffee, you have to wash it. You can make one installation to wash it. You can go further with the factory of charcoal, where we will reuse the warmth. We can make torrefying coffee. We can burn coffee over there. We can make a local production for Kinshasa, for instance, that gives a better price again than to sell it to Europe. But like it is 350 hectares, we will not sell it all in Congo. We will also sell it to Europe, I think. But Faja Lobby is an organization, is an NGO that is facilitating, that is looking for fundings, and then is facilitating the communities. And that's what we try to do, to organize and then to autonomize them finally. So that is not always Faja Lobby that has to pay the salaries, for instance.
You came into town, you created the job for thousands of people. Can you tell me like one story, like a super surprising or inspiring story of a family that you have impacted? So you can see how they were living before and then how they were living after you came in and facilitated this change.
Yeah. I give some examples. We also give scholarships, for instance, for students in the communities. We have now the number 2 of our organization is somebody who started with a scholarship. He's 27 years old. He's now the director of finances and administration. He will do his PhD in Louvain-la-Neuve next year.
In Belgium.
Belgium, but actually he started up from, he could never do the study if he would not have got the scholarship. Of course, he has the capacity. He is very strong and going very well. For the moment, we have 35 students in the university. We have already 4 or 5 people who are working in Faja Lobby. So that's the empower the people, but also the organization becomes stronger because the ownership they have in the organization. So that's one of the things. I think a lot of people, the local people, even with the small salaries, the people who has the jobs for planting trees, etc. What you see in the villages, they after 1 year, you first they live in huts, and then you see they start with having roofs in the tol, comme on dit ça, in hoofdplaten.
Yeah, okay.
So they
Oops. Yeah.
the children go to school here in the city. For instance, yeah, it's there is a lot of things going on. It's larger than the people who has jobs. Actually, it's also the communities that where we give trainings for. We have now 64 beekeepers. We have now gave training for 150 people who has fish ponds. So it creates incomes. It changed their reality. We have also, for instance, the forests here. People are not allowed to take the wood out because we are on the edge of the city. We have already a few thousand of hectares, close to a huge population, and there we don't let them go in, and they accept it by now. But there are certain moments, caterpillars, rupsons, and people that here it's a protein. So, and then the moment it is the moment of caterpillars, it's you see a whole population, children are going in and they come out. And yeah, there was a woman who told me she paid the school for 1 year for her children by searching caterpillars in our forests.
Wow.
You see.
Yeah.
So that are small things. So there are a lot of people who has something with Fajalabi who, because we have, for instance, also an informatica training center. So because you see we are in the inner land, people has no computers. People want to go to the university, but they never use the computer. So they learn it on school, and we saw that was a problem. So we started with solar panels and we were searching for computers. So now we have classes who come with a class, like in Belgium, they're going to swim in the community swimming hall. Here they come for the computer training to our training center. And so a lot of people are involved somehow, some way, so that it gives also a better idea that people are not against.
How do you do that, Jurgen? So you're speaking about thousands of hectares. I presume that you, or I don't know, did you buy those hectares? Are these also communal lands? How do you work together with governments? Like you say, well, now they respect that they can't enter the forest anymore. Who is enforcing that? Or how are you community-wise doing this? Because one of the most complex things in the world is communities and local traditions. How on earth do you start with that?
Grabbing, it's one of the problems in Africa. Yeah, that was one of the things in the beginning I did not understood very well. So they said they sell terrains. We started to buy terrains to start up, and this part where we started, now we are doing it. We are using it for the botanical garden of Fajalobi here to show all the trees. Afterwards, when I understood a bit the problem here, all communities has clans. It's enlarged families, you can say. And every family, the terrains that they use in the savannah or in the forests to do their agriculture, because even if they live in the city, they live from the agriculture. We made agreements. We use the terrain, so the occupying of the terrain is for the organization. The clan becomes member of the organization, so it's their part they bring in the organization, and the interest of everything that is produced on the soil stays for that community. So that makes like when we speak about carbon credits, it's one of the interests. So it goes back. We have an agreement. So it has to go back to that community, not to another community, not for Fajalobi, not for to go to Europe again.
The land needs to benefit.
It's their benefit. Also, later on, after 40 years, when they don't have carbon credits anymore, and it is a forest, the agreement is we plant a forest to stay a forest. But it can mean also that there is plantation of coffee or cacao of fumbua in it, and it's their interests. It's only their clan that will have jobs in it. or their community that will have jobs in it. Then they can maybe say after 40 years, they will chop 1 or 2 or 3 trees to use for wood, because of course you need also wood for construction, for windows, for tables, etc. At our planted forest, it is possible, but they may not do the destruction of the forest. They just can take one out, and that's something that the governance of it is always the organization. So it's not one person individual or one clan individual that can decide. We take the decision in the organization. And that's the strength, I think, that we can work. So we found a solution that we have no discussion anymore after there is an agreement about the soil, that we can do the management of it very well, and that they know it's for their interest. And we have also a community assembly that comes together certain times in the year. And last time it was in March, but it's already 120 people. It's a whole group. And there we have discussions every time about certain things. And then we take also decisions. For instance, last time there was a discussion about if there is a discussion of terrain about 2 clans or 2 villages, where is the edge? And we are planting. One gave the agreement, but the other says later on, no, the edge is not there. It's somewhere else. So we made an agreement to do it peaceful, so that it can be, even if they go to justice or whatever, or they take the administrator to have to take the decision, we follow the law, but the project will not be harmed. So they have to accept that the reforestation is going on, but then it can be property of the other community, for instance, if the decision is made. And that's how we try to bring people together, because in the chaotic situation of Congo, even the cadastre, even the land rights are not always written well, or the cadastre is doing a double up. There are 2 owners, etc. So it's a chaotic situation. We try to create stability, and that's the force of this organization, that we do it from inner out, from the base, from the population that is member in it, and that is also following the decisions and make the agreements. So we are outside of the government, we make our own agreements with everybody. But also for later on, because that was also one of the problems. If an organization has a property, has the land using rights, if the organization stops, everything is going back to the government, not anymore to the community. So when the government, the ministers can use that. We have now a project of the European community, Mampu, that stopped. They planted 8,000 hectares of trees for charcoal, the biomass production. And now the government said, everything is from us. The community has nothing anymore. So it gives problems again. But we did an agreement that all interests stay always for the community. So even if the organization stops one day and the government comes to say, oh, okay, everything is from us now, then the community says, okay, everything is from you, but we have all the interests. So the government has nothing. So that's how we did it. I also did it because...
Couldn't you just give it to the community itself? Wasn't that a possibility, that in case the organization would stop, they would get it instead of the government?
Well, yeah, but normally that's a bit with the memberships, so we can make it that they have it back. But that is juridical a bit. We have to see which line they will follow. But anyway, we have a stop that we can say, okay, all interests stay always for the community, because we made that agreement on that base. So even if the government takes it over, or you can also give it to another organization. It can also be another NGO that takes the same thing over. I also wanted to do this because here you always have problems when, for instance, when I'm not anymore there, when I die and there takes somebody else the lead, then you can have the big discussion and then they can sell it for proper interest. But because we gave all the interest to the community, I blocked already all that kind of problems.
You are now dependent on carbon credits. You're working with different partners such as Ecological. How do you see that in the future? Do you see that as a reliable ethical path to scaling Vajalobi? There are some movements in the carbon credit space that say, well, it's not super ethical, or some people say that, well, it's not a good thing to do. Though a lot of organizations like yours really depend on it? How do you see that going on in the future?
Well, I don't know what the future will bring, but I know, of course, the carbon credits they gave already are not always ethical. Why? Because most of the carbon credits are concessions that the government gives to, for instance, a Canadian or Belgian society who buys a concession for $250 million. And then they say, okay, now we will protect it because now we have the right to chop everything down. So because of that danger, we will not do it if we can sell the carbon credits. So we will protect, it's a private protection of natural rainforest. It's not a planted forest. Okay. And then they do that. And then they gave, for instance, I have an example in Congo. They gave more than $1 billion to do that concession. And then they have also to give some small parts to the community. And then the owner says, yeah, actually the community, there are no people there. It's 100,000 hectares. Yeah, but you still have in 100,000 hectares 100,000 people. So the population is not aware about what is happening sometimes even. So that's not ethical. For us, it's ethical because all the interest is going back to the community. It's not that we were buying land and then we are doing something and then we are taking back the interest to Europe. Everything is staying here. So that's the good way of doing carbon credits, I think. But it's more difficult because we have to find fundings for that. Because now more and more we see that interests or they want return of interests now. Even big organizations like the United Nations want to give credits that they want to take back later on. So it becomes more difficult to do restoration of landscapes. We have to do economical projects that we can pay back the participation they made with us.
Yeah.
So it's not easy anymore. I hope we still find fundings, grants for free, that we can invest in the population, because if it is not going back to the population that is so poor, that is living in such a poverty, we cannot build up something for them. Then we are just building up something for the investor. That's
and
a
then
big
you're
problem.
colonizing all over again.
It's the same, yeah.
To end this podcast, some more personal questions. How do you deal with setbacks? For example, hut burning down, you were sent to prison. How do you deal with those setbacks or like other things going your way? What's your strategy on that?
Yeah, it can. It's not encouraging always if you have problems like that. Also, yeah, we have already got that 100 hectare was burning that we planted. Yeah, and then it's an accident, or it's somebody who did it because he was jealous or whatever. It's not always easy to handle. I think my ideas, I try to change something for the better in the world, and sometimes you have problems, things that not are working, and then you have to learn on it. But sometimes you have to take a step back if something is going wrong. Like they put me in jail for 3 days. It was because they were looking for. The administration was looking for a budget and they said we did not pay taxes, but we are an NGO. We had not to pay taxes on income, etc. We have to pay taxes on jobs. That's a law here that we do, but not on things that we earn, and we earn not anything. Of course, you have a computer training center, and we ask a very small thing for the schools who.
How did he get out of jail? No, I'm curious.
Oh no! Well, the thing was, the first day immediately the embassy was knowing it. Somebody called the embassy apparently. They were calling me. Can we send help? What can we do? And I said, okay, now I'm already a long time here. I think it was in 2015 or something. It's a long time ago. Anyway. I said, okay, let's first look what is happening. If I'm really in danger, I will phone you back. But it was like a bit like a joke also. I was in prison, and then, yeah, it was like a false scouting camp because in the evening the other prisoners, they were singing and doing theater for me because it was the first time in life they had seen a white man. But then after 3 days there was a pressure of the population to the procureur.
Administrative. Yeah.
So they had to let me free. But first they were asking $27,000, and he had an agreement with the taxing administration that they would share the budget in their pockets. It was not for the government. And the people of our organization, they wanted already to pay, and I said, no, I don't pay. Don't pay. I stay in jail. I try to do that because I know I'm a stranger. A certain moment, if there is a high risk, I can call the embassy. So I still had a kind of security behind me. That's the problem. Local people has no security. They put them in jail for nothing. You can have a discussion with your neighbor. You go to the procureur, to the parquet, and then the first thing they
Prosecutor. Yeah.
I always, as a European, has something more. I'm more protected than the local population. So that's crazy. Imagine in Europe that you see the immigrants have a lot of problems in Europe, but Europeans are better served than the immigrants. But here it's vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy world, actually, if you see it.
Looking 10 years ahead, what do you hope you have built? Not just in terms of hectares reforested, but also in human terms?
Yeah. Well, I think we have done a lot. There is still a lot of things to do. For me, it's important that we create a new generation. People are more aware now. We have a lot of young people in the organization who are very empowering the organization. So that's for me important, that I see there is a change of mentality. People also who has a belief that they can build up something also in this chaotic situation. And that stability is for me maybe the most important thing that we created for now. Besides the natural restoration, it's becoming more a product that the way of we are doing to have the product of the community. I learned a lot for myself also. I learned a lot. Okay, I can love trees, but we always only can protect them if the population is going very well.
It's like what Jane Goodall says. Jane Goodall first wanted to save the trees for the orangutans or the other primates, but then she realized, well, the only way to save the forest is to save the people. So
yes,
it's beautiful and super inspiring what you're doing, Jurgen. What or who inspires you? Like certain books, certain people, certain movements that shaped you and directed you into this path that you're following?
I'm not a religion person or something that I'm looking to nature. I'm not looking into books. I read books. I love to read David van Speebroek, for instance, about Congo or even Asia, because he gives interest. But even him, who is a European, who is really inspired, looks with an European look to it. I see it's more. Yeah.
I chat with David van Rijbroek like a couple of days ago. I love the guy.
Yeah, now he is very inspiring. I like inspiring people like him. He is a historian, of course, and that's also something that's important, that we learn from history, that we look what was happening. But for the rest, it's a bit more what I feel inside myself, and try to look objectively to the rest what is going on.
So if I hear it correctly, you're more inspired by what's around you and what's developing.
Yes. I try to think for myself, because when you go through too extremely in one organization or one vision, you can also be like thinking in dogmas. So I think you have to keep open mind and look around what is happening, and not knowing it all. That I learned a lot also because I'm living in another culture, so we have a perspective as European, as a Belgian, but then you come here and other things are also important that we don't look at. You have to find the way what is working.
Yeah. Well, the podcast is almost about to end. Just one final question for you, Jurgen. If there is one thing that you really want to tell to our listener about going and jumping into the life you want to live and wanting to create a change, even if it means giving up your own life and creating a new life, what would your advice be?
I think you always have to try to find what you want to do in your life. What is your aim of your life? What would you like to keep that stays for the future? For certain people, I think it is having their own children, and that is important too. I don't have them. I have found another way, but when you want to jump in something, of course you have to have some things behind you that you don't jump crazy,
Security.
that you lose everything. I try to start it. I jumped because I'm very inspired in what I want to do, and that's important. You have to be inspired in everything you do, but you have to create some security that you can go back. And you can think, what is the worst thing I could lose if I don't do it? And for me, it was not doing it. I would say at the end of my life, okay, I wanted to go to Congo. I want to do this project, but I haven't done it. No, now I'm happy I tried. And even if it would be burned everything and everything was would go wrong, the path that I followed, I'm already happy with it, I think.
Oh, very inspiring words to end this episode, Jurgen. Thank you so much. So, what I remember from it and what really enters my heart from our conversation here is that if you're laying on your deathbed, like what you just said, what will you regret the most? Starting like this magnificent, ambitious project that may or may not have failed or never have tried it at all. I think the answer is very clear. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Food Forest podcast, and I'm looking forward to see you next week. You can learn more about Jurgen's project in the show notes on the website www.foodforestpodcast.com, and see you next week.
Okay, thanks.